Welcome to Jung at Harp, episode 201.
202.
Oh, 202. We're up to 202. What difference does love make? That's our topic for today. It is February and Valentine's Day is tomorrow. So we thought we would explore the power of love and how do we tap into that? And what difference does it make in our day-to-day life with ourselves and our self-talk and our relationship and our music and our creative expression? I am Kathleen Wiley, a Jungian psychoanalyst, and I am here with Deborah Henson-Conant, a composer, a performer, an educator, a mentor. We both play the harp. Mine's a little hidden there. And that's why we call this Jung at Harp. And almost every week we come together to have a conversation with one another and you if you join us live. Hopefully the platform you're watching on has a place you can put in comments in the chat and then we can see it. To explore questions. So we don't start with answers, we start with questions and we see what the creative engagement with one another brings. So love, a big topic. Big time. My first analyst said she was going to put a sign outside her door that said the love doctor. I don't think she ever did, but anyway.
Yeah. Well, now I want to ask about her, but I was really interested to talk about this for two reasons. And one is because I discovered a harmonic progression earlier this week that I realized that I have heard many times in a lot of different music, classical and otherwise, and that I love. And I pulled it out and shared it with members of Harp Academy because at the beginning of every masterclass, one of the things I do is give them a snippet. And by snippet, I mean it's something that you can improvise on. For progression, it might be some kind of a pattern, it might be an idea. But I gave them this particular pattern, which I'm going to play for you and kind of show you what happens when I play it. And they discovered the same thing that happened when they played it. The other reason I'm so interested in it is because one of the big things that we're always working on when I'm working with musicians, so I'm working with harpists and every type of musician, every person, I guess, deals with perfectionism, whole compare and despair, everything that's inside of certainly achievement, but also doing something you love. Doing something you love, you can start to lose that connection to what you love, getting taken up by all the other things like competition and how well am I doing. So that makes me think about running as well, which is something I love and that I've allowed myself to do without any competition. Or I have to say, this is a thing in my life in which I will not even try to excel. And I will, and my whole goal will be to love it. Not to excel at it. So these are three things. So one of the big things that happens in Hip Harp Academy in the chats starts with a snippet. And then the second part is feedback. Someone shares a video of something they're working on and they get feedback. And it's not feedback as in this is good, this is bad. It's feedback for discovery. It's feedback for what are you trying to do? How can I help you get closer to that? It's feedback in terms of most people don't know what they are doing. They can't see the value or even the structure of what they're doing. So part of this is great. Do you see how this fits with the other thing that you did? And here's what you're doing. And I saw you do this. But one of maybe the most important thing that comes out of that session is what happens to everyone who's watching. Who's watching is often in this binary mindset of, oh, that's better than I could do, or I could do better, or I liked it better when she did it that way, or whatever. There's all these, it's just in our heads. Our heads are set up to be like, that's better than this, or, oh, I like that, or I don't like that. And the biggest point of me doing this is to help people learn how to watch others with love and watch for discovery rather than watching for assessment. Because if we can learn to do it with others, we can start to learn to do it with ourselves as well. Practice. And the emergency thing that I always tell people, I mean, I'm telling them, you look for the gift, look for what's there for you, look for the patterns, look for how they're showing you what we're studying. But the big thing is, if you get stuck look for something to love.
Mm-hmm.
Any moment, if you find yourself in, and if I find myself in complaining, or like even sometimes I'm out running and I'm like, why am I not good at this, blah, 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 blah. And I'll be stop, look for something to love.
Mm-hmm.
Find that thing to love. Everything shifts.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, one of the things I love about running is there was a heron twice in this one place over the last 5 years. And every day I go for a run, I hope that I might see that heron. And in some way I see it. These things, and I just want to play this chord progression and show it to you because I think you might see something that connects all of these things. Looking to love. And so the chord progression is in the key of C. It's A minor. I'm just doing simply A minor, D, G, C, F, B, E. So it's often called a circle of fifths. Or it could go, I'm going up 4, then down 5, then up 4, then down 5, then up 4, then down 5, then, or I could go down 5, then, and anyway, but if, as I start playing with it, I think you can tell when it starts again. So I could just keep going, and I keep going, and I found that as I keep going, each time I go around this thing, it opens up and suggests another thing to do, or I can do it simply. And I found that I love it. And there's some more. I mean, there's cool things like you can get these beautiful like. And then there's other patterns like you're probably not seeing what I'm doing, but now I'm taking and I'm doing one in a first inversion and blah, 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 and it gives a different bass line. So you can go on and on and on with it. But the beauty of it, there's something that when I'm doing it, I start falling in love. Mm-hmm. It's not the only chord progression that I feel that way about. And I feel more or less that way at different times, but okay, so those are the things that I share with you here. I think there were 3. I only remember 2 of them right now.
I'm moving around this morning because I'm on my little ergonomic stool for my back. So if you all see me moving, that's why I'm more animated today. Well, as you're talking, part of what I'm thinking about is maybe we need to be really courageous or foolish and see if we can define love. If we're going to talk about loving something, what are we really talking about? And so I'm going to be courageous or foolish and offer a couple of thoughts. One is the first, which is very Jungian, is that love is eros, which is an archetypal energy, which means that we have no control over it because archetypes are not in any way within the control or purview of our ego consciousness, but they are like energetic currents in the river, and we either are in that current or not. So that's one perspective. It's an archetypal state. And in that archetypal state, the quality of that archetypal energy is an attraction. So the spiritual traditions say that gravity is an expression of love, because love means that 2 things want to come together and be one. So that's an archetypal perspective on love. Now I'm going to bring in a perspective from Erich Fromm, who was a Freudian psychoanalyst and wrote a book that first came out 50 years ago called The Art of Loving. And I love this book because what Fromm says is we have no control over whether or not love comes in the sense of the archetypal current, because we're not in charge of the river. But we can cultivate a state of consciousness that invites love, that moves us towards that current, or invites the collective unconscious to put us in that current. So that's cultivating the art of loving. And it's a beautiful book. And if you want to give yourself and your love a Valentine's Day gift, if you don't have this book, order it. And I have an original hardback copy actually that someone gifted me, as well as the paperback copy. But in the art of loving, Fromm talks about the qualities of love, which these are the things that if we want to love, we need to cultivate. Giving, so that a quality, if you're loving towards something, you're giving. Care, responsibility, respect, and knowledge. So
I'm laughing because I'm thinking, I'm kind of embarrassed. I'm like, oh, these are the qualities of self-love and self-care too.
yeah, it's the quality of self-love and self-care. And we can start there, or I'm going to speak to a minute to you're talking about falling in love with this card progression. Part of what was happening is you were giving the chord progression and yourself space to be together. And you were caring about the sound and the felt sense, the emotional response you were having. And you were being responsible for the engagement with what you were feeling and what you were hearing. And you were being respectful of the laws of music and the circle of fifths. And you learned more about that circle and what speaks to you and what was speaking to you in that moment. So you just gave us a beautiful example of a practice of cultivating love with a piece of music. You know,
Thank you. And I just realized something I also wasn't doing and that I constantly am suggesting again to the students that I work with who are adults and full humans. Well, not that children are not, but anyway, is don't listen for the wrong notes. Listen to what's there without assessment. So one of the things I wasn't putting in, and I want to go back and see all your list of what I was putting in, because I feel like I'd love to put that list up on my wall, because when I get disconnected, I can do that. And I'm thinking it's like getting disconnected from the gravity of being pulled and attracted to it. I can look at those ideas, but what I wasn't doing was assessing. So I'm judging it in any way that would stop it. And you're right that like in the academy, what we do is I gave everybody this chord progression, and then we just played it for 5 or 10 minutes. And in that 5 or 10 minutes, all this discovery came out that then I can share with you. Right. So I definitely want to go back. I see we have a comment, so I'm just going to pull it up. They've got a new thing here that something comes up when you try to pull the comment in. Okay. Very good. Everett is saying, I like your advice to look for something to love rather than to criticize. A good way to move through the world in general. Yes. And that also made me think something that I wrote down when you were speaking. Kathleen, I wrote down as you were talking about the state of mind and that leads to attraction. And then I was thinking, and our thoughts, we get to choose our thoughts that might lead to that state. And I wrote, we can't know who will come to the party, but we can know we can invite many, many, many people.
Right. And if we are practicing, if we're cultivating those qualities, when you suspend assessment, you suspend judgment, you're automatically respecting what is. You're beginning to accept and respect what is there. And starting with respect of what is there allows exploration.
Right. And that's why I'm constantly saying in this academy where how we're looking at creativity with each other is through discovery. Right. We're not at the, let's hone this down to a perfect thing. That's not what we're doing. We're in discovery. So Kathleen, it's immediately occurring to me, what happens when love goes away?
Well, to me, this is the difference between what in the Western world is so revered, which is romantic love, which is usually an archetypal possession, and mature love. Because
what archetypal possession, please?
Meaning that suddenly, if you've ever suddenly fallen in love, it's like suddenly you're in a totally different world and a totally state of consciousness. And instead of tending your life and your friends and your house, you just want to be with the lover.
Okay, so that's really interesting. So you become possessed. I thought you meant it as you possess this other person.
Oh, no. Well, that's sometimes a mistaken perception when one is archetypally possessed by love, because then that romantic love often falls away when you suddenly realize, I don't possess this person. He's not who I thought he or she was in my mind's eye. Suddenly, this is not the idealized person 3 months ago I thought I was in relationship with. So there is perhaps an unconscious sense that one possesses, and that this is the object of my fantasy. This person's like my fantasy. And the wake up call is when they aren't. So love, in the sense that Fromm is talking about, is a state of consciousness that I believe can have as the original foundation that experience of romantic love, but it becomes something that is consciously co-created with the attraction. And I think that love as an art makes room for sometimes the person that we love, we hate, because hate is the opposite of love. They're both about being bonded. If you hate,
fear was the opposite of love.
That is what the Course in Miracles says. Is the Course says that the true opposite of love and hate is indifference or fear. Okay. But if we look at the energetic state of love, to hate somebody, there has to be some place where you're bonded to them. So if we're thinking about love as being that energy that unites, that energy that draws things together, people who have hate towards one another are very bonded. They're bonded in a negative way. This went in a different direction than we intended.
Yes, it's okay. My brain is going in a place we shouldn't go. Let's bring Victoria in here. All right. So Victoria says, when you suspend judgment, you accept what is. That is so true. I see judgment gets in the way of cultivating connections all the time, including connections to ourselves. Right. And that's what I see in teaching adults who, especially adults who are learning about improvisation, adults who have very cultivated ears and incredibly rich lives and amazing things to talk about and to explore in their lives, but who have also cultivated this ability to be critical and finding ways to help them. And I'm one of those people. So finding ways to then bring us back to that ability to love what we're doing outside of the realm of perfection or how good it is. And I think this was the journey that happened for me with running. I've been a very competitive person all my life, and I was, great at stuff when I was a kid and great at certain things. And I remember on my 19th birthday, I felt like this is the end, no longer a child prodigy. What happens next? And so it was, there was a lot of pain in feeling like I'm falling behind, at every part of my life. And running, there was a moment when I heard someone ask someone else, would you continue running if you weren't getting any better? And as I heard that question, I thought, I'm not going to get better at this. It's not about getting better. Is there a way for me to have a relationship with this thing? This thing that I'm not good at, that good at is not the thing. Is there a way for me to have a relationship with this that is going to be meaningful? And that moment changed my life because I became a runner, not a runner, but someone who runs because there is so much that happens for me when I run. And I remember the last race I went to, I always go to the gobble, gobble, gobble race every Thanksgiving. And I was talking to some women who I met ahead of time, and one said, well, I'll be way at the back of the pack because I'm like a 13-minute miler. And I was like, I think I've run one 13-minute mile in my life. But the point, but that's a whole other thing. Like, am I putting myself down? Am I not putting myself down? Does it matter? Whatever. But the point is, I love it. And that's the thing that's really important to me about it, that I'm getting in this one moment. And the thing that I want to get across to everyone in the world is that being good at something is not the thing that gives you the right to love it and to even make your life about it. Being good at that's not the factor. I mean, yeah, if you're good at something, maybe you'll get further, but that's not the reason to choose it. Like, you can choose something that you're not good at to fall in love with.
Well, but again, we're getting into a paradigm of judgment when we get into, is it good enough? I mean, when I got ready to play this Christmas party gig with John, one of the things that I said to myself is, you know what? I'm probably going to be the only person there who plays the harp. So what's good enough, right? I mean, I'm showing up with the harp. I know these tunes. I can play with John. We can stay in rhythm. I mean, so I mean, I think this whole idea of good enough it puts us back in the realm of comparison, which is problematic.
Well, yeah, you were still comparing yourself, because what if you were in a room full of harpists and you're the worst harpist there? What does it? How? My question is, if you're the worst person there, how do you? And I mean, I found it with running. You have a right to be there anyway. You have a right to be playing a note.
Well, who says I'm the worst harpist? Maybe I'm the least technically advanced. Maybe, maybe I'm the least technically advanced. Maybe I'm the least experienced. But perhaps I'm the one who's going to play with the most heart and soul that touches somebody who didn't get touched by anybody else.
Well, what if you don't? What if you're not only the worst harpist, but I'm trying to get to the very first principle of strings of passion, which is impulse. And what I always say is, before we ever learn to want to be desired, there is desire. There is desire. And that desire is love. And what I'm standing up for here, or talking about, is that not where we fit, but that we love something, that we love anything, is a really important thing, and it's a thing to live.
Yeah, and I mean, where I go in my mind is, if I'm playing, and I'm playing for other people, but I'm playing out of my love for the sound of the instrument, and out of my love of a particular tune, and out of my desire to share my felt sense, my expression of the tune with other people, then that takes me out of the realm of being worried about where I stand in relationship to other people's in other people's minds. So part of this, I think, it has to do with the difference between cultivating love and when truly we are in that current of love, is that sometimes when we're cultivating love, we have to deal with this outside paradigm, a paradigm that takes us away from the current of love. And we have to find a way to deal with that. And again, I think extending care and giving and being responsible, respectful, and having knowledge of ourselves and the other is the way forward towards that. But that's a different paradigm. When we get into that, we're outside of the paradigm of loving.
I'm really interested in what you said. I was very struck when you said, when I'm sharing what I love. Mm-hmm. I'm remembering the breakup of a relationship of mine. My partner said to me, yeah, you write songs about me and stuff, but like, when have you ever like just slapped me on the ass? And I was like, I don't know. What? Oh, yeah, okay. I guess the thing that you wanted, I didn't. So that just gets to me what I'm curious about. Yeah. So is sharing. Like, when is my sharing inflicting something on somebody, versus actually reaching him.
Well, that I think is that intimate relationships are the most complex. I don't think we can use that as an example.
Okay, let's take
to
the
make
rest. Okay,
maybe we'll talk about that off camera.
Okay, all right. Okay, now I wish to put something over my head and hide.
I mean, I
Okay.
think but what I will say is, in intimate relationships, there are all kinds of dynamics that get going, including power dynamics. And so part of any relationship, intimate or a relationship with an audience, is what is it we're offering and what is it that they're expecting and wanting. And sometimes what we are offering does not fit what the other is wanting. One of the things that really helped me get this book that I've been working on for the last 6 years finally in its final draft, and it's out to endorsers now. I'm so excited about that, is when I finally got it a few months ago. I'm writing this book for me. If it meets my standards, if it speaks to my heart, if it addresses, the junior high kid who was awkward in this, or the young college woman, or, the 50-year-old me, or the me now. And it really made a difference when I realized, okay, if I'm writing this thinking about what's this group going to think, what's that person going to think, what's this, I never finish it. I had to come to that. Okay, this book is between me and the self, and it will speak to some people, and it won't speak to other people. And I actually say that in the final chapter. I say, when I got it, this book is going to speak to some people, but it's not going to speak to other people, and that's okay, because I accepted and had enough respect for my own experience to say, this is valid. This has something. This is an offering I want to make. And I have no control. And for me, when I go to play the harp, because I have my own, paradigm of insecurity, blah, 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 blah. When I go to play the harp, if I can remember, okay, if I go and I'm centered in who I am and my relationship, that makes all the difference. And that's what I'm finding when I do have the courage to play more publicly, that people always come up and say things to me that I'm thinking, oh yeah, part of me can dismiss. I have to be careful. But they say things to me that are very affirming that I don't say to myself.
I want to come back to a couple of things here. Paradigm of insecurity, things that people say to you, actually trusting of them. I just want to pull up Tovala, who shared that I'm good enough in me at this time, and I love my harping. So I'm hearing her say, I love doing it. I love doing it. I love being there. I love engaging in it. I can't compare. We're all different for a reason. I love harping. And I'm hearing her in relationship to this instrument. Yes. And I'm thinking, what if someone were saying that about me, about my relationship with this person? I can't compare. We're all different for a reason. I just love doing this thing. Anyway, thank you, Tovala, for sharing that. And thank you. I love when everybody's comments come up. Loved when you said paradigm of insecurity. I have my own paradigm of insecurity. And so I thought, okay, so there's paradigm of insecurity. There's a paradigm of trust. There's a paradigm, there's all these different things. Is that like a thing, or did you just make that up just now? Is that like a Jungian, there's the Jungian paradigm of trust and the Jungian paradigm?
I wouldn't say that it's Jungian. I mean, what I would say is I think all psychology looks at, the way you might talk about it sometimes is the mindset you're in. You know, a mindset is a paradigm. A paradigm is kind of a schema of how one is organizing and processing, the lens through which one operates.
Like an algorithm. And I'm just saying that because, because an algorithm is imposed on something. It's a decision. We're going to look in the, don't get me started. I don't know a lot about algorithms, but I researched it enough to understand, oh, it's just a set of rules that are being used right now. Whereas I'm hearing that a paradigm is often not a choice. It's something that ends up kind of being developed in a person, and yet I understand that but it could be a choice. And I want to go back to when you talked about the state of love and it being a kind of gravity, and realizing that what we think makes the difference. Am I right?
Well, yes and no. I mean,
Good. Those are my favorite.
you know, so your question about paradigm, you know, in Jung's understanding of psyche and his model of psyche, there are three layers. There's the layer of our conscious self, which includes our persona, or the roles we play, and our ego. And then there's the personal unconscious, where all of our internalized patterns that are centered around particular affects arise.
That's where the problem is, right?
Right, right. So there are thoughts that arise and that do correspond and come out of these feedback loops, or what he called complexes. So cognitive behavioral therapy, rational emotive therapy, lots of ego-directed interventions address, well, if you change your thoughts, you'll change this. Or if you change, you know, your feeling state by going out for a run or a workout, you'll change this. And there is some truth to that, because conscious and unconscious are always in interplay. However, the degree to which there is highly charged emotional states that are not processed and integrated in the unconscious, one keeps getting pulled back into that same repetitive pattern.
Wow, almost like you're trying to solve something. Like when I was a kid, I was curious why. There's some questions that I had, but one of them was, how do some people get out of a depression, but some out of my grandparents in the Great Depression, how do people get out of it? And some people are stuck forever and just kind of always there and just always kind of looking for answers to that question. So yeah, go back to it. Interesting. Oh, so it has a kind of attraction for you. You don't love it, but it has an attraction. It keeps pulling you. It's a little gravitational moon.
Right. That's right. That's right. That's a good way of thinking about it. That center of the feedback loop or complex is like a gravitational moon. And there's other, you know, memories and experiences with emotion that collects around it. It keeps pulling things into its orbit. And so then part of the individuation process is to be able to get into conscious relationship to that gravitational center, i.e. to experience it while still being able to have an experience of one's reality now. Because those gravitational moons are historically conditioned and established.
So I'm realizing we're coming to the end. We need like 2 minutes. And I realize our question was, what difference does love make in life and in music? And I would say that love is another dimension. If I was looking at this gravitational moon and I was looking at thoughts and these things that happened to them as a child and what I made of them and blah, 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 all that, this stuff that's got their own gravitational pull. And I would think, yet there is another dimension. And I would say that dimension is love. Now, what is love? I don't know. But I know that if I look for something to love, if I stop listening to the wrong notes and actually allow myself to take on as a practice loving the thing that I am hearing, something happens that I cannot then control. I'm impacting it. A new state opens, a state of being opens, and that state of being is somehow open to love, maybe. I don't know.
Well, and maybe again, and we're getting into kind of esoteric, spiritual, philosophical kind of territory, which is perfectly fine, that maybe that state of being has something to do with the mystery that most people call buzz the divine. I mean, the writer of, I think it's First John, says God is love. So perhaps the divine state, the divine being of all life is actually love.
Well, that will be for another thing. My brain is like, I do not like mystery. Mystery hides things. I like magic. Magic is the thing that reveals everything. But that's another subject.
But magic comes from knowing the secret workings of the mystery, from being able to see into the darkness, from what's behind. So there is a connection.
She's going to win this argument. Don't let her do it. She's going to do it. All right. Well, I know we're at the end. Would you like to take the last word in this? I think the thing we want, we want however love happens. And we would love to hear from people. What difference does love make to you in life, in music? And how do you find it? And when it's gone, how do you discover it again? How do you open up to it? And, on this Friday the 13th, we can think about that for the rest of the year to the next February 13th, as we open up a new realm of looking for love in ourselves and in the world. And Kathleen, what last thing would you like to say?
I just want to say ditto to what you just said. I mean, I think I would be really interested in hearing from you all, how do you cultivate love, and what difference do you find that it makes? Because I think we each have to find our own way and of doing that. And I think that what you teach at Harp Academy and coach people to do to find the one thing they love is the start. And I think, could your former partner have said, I love that you write songs about me, and would you periodically slap me on the ass? I'd like that too. It would have been a totally different experience, because and so I think, again, finding something to love and having gratitude for it. Having gratitude.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And you just made me realize that I could go back and have gratitude for that conversation, regardless of how I might have wished it went. So anyway, and Victoria is saying, happy Valentine's Day to you two lovely ladies. And thank you, Victoria, and same to all of you. And I look forward to seeing all of you again next week. Will we meet next week?
Yes, we will.
Visit jungatharp.com for show notes, contact links, and to follow the ongoing conversation. That's Jung, as in Carl Jung, the famous psychoanalyst, and harp, as in the many-stringed instrument.